everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jessica if you are. Today's my Pan Those Eyeshadows update. I'm a little bit late in the month to be filming this, but we're here, we're doing this, let's get her done. If you are new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel because I love doing all sorts of different panning projects, and when I have the time, I like to branch out into other makeup content as well. Get ready with me's, hauls, empties, those types of things. Pan Those Eyeshadows was created by a YouTuber named Alexi, who's no longer creating content, but this is the first makeup panning project that brought me into YouTube. So it'll always hold a special place in my heart for that reason, and I'm excited to update you on what I've been able to do in the past month. Everyone does this project a little bit differently, but in my project this year, I'm currently working on 4 eyeshadows at a time. Ultimately, my goal is always to hit pan on those eyeshadows, but if I use them at least 30 times over a span of at least 3 months and I still have not hit that goal on the eyeshadow, then I will allow myself to roll out that eyeshadow shade and bring in something new. I'm also doing a Pan That palette this year, so in order to keep some more variety in my eyeshadow panning projects, if I roll in any shades that are too similar to shades in my Pan That palette, I will also allow myself to re-roll for something different. So if you want to see my progress on my 4 eyeshadows for this month, definitely stay tuned to this video. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you around in my little makeup community on a more regular basis. Let's get right on into the video. Starting off with this really pretty turquoise blue eyeshadow shade. This is from a little ColourPop quintet called Rumor Has It. The shade is called Do Tell, and it has been quite a challenging shade for me to work on, but I finally have some good news to share with you. So here's what the shade was looking like at the beginning of this project when I first brought it in. I only reached for it 3 times during the first month. Here's what it was looking like then. And then the second month, I reached for it 3 additional times, making for 6 uses total. And here's what it was looking like last month. I was getting quite nervous about this shade, but I really tried to focus on it during the past month. I reached for it 10 additional times, making for 16 uses total. And here's what Do Tell is looking like today. And you can see I do now have a tiny little pan on this shade. And I'm so happy because I didn't think I was going to be able to get there. Panning a turquoise like this is never really the easiest, but I finally just was feeling a little bit more brave and adventurous and decided to wear this on my inner corner to work. I think I wore it the same exact way for like 4 different days in a row to just get my use on that shade, and I finally was able to hit pan on it after that 16th use. So this one gets to roll out. I was nervous that it'd be around for another month, but 3 months and 16 uses got me that pan, and now I get to roll out a blue, and hopefully we're gonna have a chance to take a break from painting blue eyeshadows. As many of you know, blues love to come into this project. It's just been a theme of pan those blue eyeshadows, although now it's really pan those pink eyeshadows. I'm painting so many pinks right now, which I'll get into soon, but this blue is rolling out, and that'll be another shade I get to add to my pan percentage, so I'm excited to update you all on the number for that one. The next shade is from the Natasha Denona My Dream palette, and I've been panning the black shade in here, Blackest Black. Here's a little swatch of Blackest Black for you. And I don't normally pan blacks in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, but I've been using Lainey's prompts for half of my eyeshadow selections, and in the prompt I rolled, it was something you really don't want to pan, but I wanted to hit a pan in this palette this year, so I decided to bring in something I don't want to pan from a palette that I do want to pan, and that happened to be the black shade. I mean, who wants to pan a black? So this has been quite the challenging shade, as you might expect. Here's what Blackest Black was looking like when I first brought it into this project. I've been reaching for it almost every single day as a liner, so I've been getting a lot of use. I reached for it 16 times during the first month and was looking like this. I then reached for it 17 additional times, making for 33 uses total. Here's what it was looking like last month. And then in the past month, I reached for an additional 11 times, making for 44 uses total. So I now have that 30 use goal and the 3-month goal, and here's what it's looking like today. And as you can see, it's hardly a difference at all that you can visibly see. Maybe there's a slight bigger dip starting to form in that eyeshadow shade, but we are not anywhere close to pan. I think it would take me probably close to 100 uses, maybe 75 to hit pan on this shade, and we don't have that kind of time, and I want to keep things a little bit, you know, more exciting and add more variety into this project. So this one is rolling out. I still don't have a pan in this palette, so I might try and hit pan in another one of these shades, maybe with another one of Lainey's prompts. I can make it work, but I'm going to roll out that black shade, and we'll have to kind of come back to that goal of hitting a pan in this palette at a later date. So that is our second rollout for the month, and I'm super excited to kind of just move on from that black shade for now. These next two shades came in just last month. The first one is from my BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette, and I rolled in shade number, I think it's, well, it was, for me it was 15 because I skipped over the ones that already hit pan, but it's a matte pink shade. Here's a swatch of the shade that I'm talking about, and in retrospect, I probably should have re-rolled for a different color in this palette because I have so many pinks in my pan that palette for this year. So this has kind of been a little bit of a challenge for me to reach for, but I'm still moving forward with it. Now that we've rolled it in, I'm going to do my best with this shade. The pink look that I'm wearing today does feature this pink matte. It's the only matte that I used in my crease today, and kind of winged it out just a little bit. Topped it with another pink shade that we're going to see soon in this project. So here's what the shade was looking like last month when I first brought it in. I reached for this shade 6 times in the past month, and here's what it's looking like today after those 6 uses. So I wish I could have gotten a few more uses on there. There isn't much of a dip showing after 4 uses. But I think that if I amp up my use on this one, use it just a little more subtly in like a more neutral way, reach for it as a blush here and there, I should be able to get a nice big dip going on this one, if not very, very close to pan by the next update. And hopefully I can just power through and not get too burnt out with pinks in the process. So that one is staying in. The pinks will persist, and I have one more pink to talk about. Let's move on to that one. And our last shade comes from the BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles palette, and this is another pink shade. I decided to bring in this shimmery kind of gold reflected pink Sunset Boulevard from this palette, and I think the prompt was from Lainey. It was something that starts with an S, and I had choices. I didn't have to bring in a pink, but I did this to myself. I thought the pink would help me to pair it with other pinks that I'm panning, and here we are. I'm just overloaded with pink. So here's what Sunset Boulevard was looking like when I first brought it into the project last month. I'm happy to say I was able to reach for this shade 8 times, and here's what it's looking like today after those 8 uses. And there is a dip starting to form in that shade, but not as big as I would hoped it would be for 8 uses. But I think that it might like exponentially go down a little bit faster as I continue to reach for it. And people have told me that these pans are not too deep, although people have said that to me before, and I always expect them to be really shallow, and then they're just like average size depth. So we'll see what happens with this one. I'm excited to keep reaching for it. It is a really pretty shade. I love the gold reflect. I have this on my look today as my main shade all over my lid, and then of course, like I mentioned, the gold that you're seeing in the middle is a different shade topped over that, even though it does have quite a nice little gold highlight. So it's really pretty for like the spring and summer months. I feel like this will be a fun shade to wear even as it gets warmer. I just think it's a nice springy, summery type, you know, shade to wear. So I'm fine with this one sticking around. I think it's such a fun palette. I would love to play with more of the shades in here, as this one is sitting on my vanity during this project. And I'm excited to see what I can do with it in the next month. Hopefully have a nice big dip for you. But it'll probably take me at least 2 more months to hit pan on this one. So she's sticking around for now. So we have these 2 shades rolling out from these 2 palettes, and then those pinks are sticking around a little bit longer. And I'm going to now update you on my pan percentage. So I'm always tracking the number of pans that I have on the total amount of eyeshadow shades in my collection. It's just a fun little data point to share with you to not only track my progress visually, but also numerically, and kind of keep me on track with my goals throughout the year. I have 435 individual shades of eyeshadow in my collection, and at the beginning of the year, I had pan on 15.63% of them. As of last month, I had pan on 72 of my 435 shades. My pan percentage was 16.55%. And then this month, we've added 3 new pans to my pan percentage. I have the pan in Do Tell from my Rumor Has It quintet. I also have a pan from my Project Level Up, which I will have linked up here in the cards, and then another pan from my Pan That palette for this year, which I'll also link up here for you in case you haven't seen that project and you want to check it out. So that brings my number of pans up to 75 out of my 435 eyeshadow shades, making my pan percentage now 17.24%. So we are inching towards 20%. My goal this year is kind of ambiguous. I really haven't been able to land on a firm goal. I definitely want to pass 20%, and I'm hoping to get like close to 25. I don't think that's reasonably going to happen, but if I can get to like 23 or 24%, I would feel quite satisfied with that by the end of the year. Now let's quickly talk about some of the eyeshadow looks I created with these eyeshadows during the past month. Of course, there's other shades in here mixing from other projects, but most of these looks will feature at least one of these eyeshadow shades in a more prominent way. So we did a lot of pink looks over the past month. I didn't take pictures of all of them, but here is one of my more favorited pink looks that I created. This has the pink matte from BH Cosmetics in the crease. It has Sunset Boulevard all over the lid, and then I'm sure there's also other pinks mixed in there from my Pan That palette series. So I'm not going to go into all of those. I have like, you know, more of a maroon shade to deepen up the outer crease, but these two pinks from Pan Those Eyeshadows are a big part of that look. Here's one of my favorite looks I created over the past month with Do Tell. I decided to create like a purple blue type look where I mixed in a lot of shades from my Odin's Eye Jewels and Gem palette and then just piled on Do Tell all in my inner crease and inner corner and the lower part of my lid just to get as much use on Do Tell as I could. And this was just like a look I wore on the weekend just to like have fun and play with makeup. This is a variation that I did with Do Tell in previous months, but this time I added like a lot more glitter on the center of the lid just to make it a little more, you know, special and exciting. So I have like a brown neutral crease. I have Do Tell heavily in the inner part of the lid and then a wing on the outer part. And then I left that middle part of my lid quite empty and then packed that on with like silvery, glittery type shades. And then I kind of extended it out with like a darker blue on the wing and then the lower lash line to add that definition. I thought it was really pretty. I wore this makeup look in a recent video, so you might have seen it before, but I thought it was just like a fun way to play with some color. Here's another look with Do Tell, kind of a similar look from the last one, but without that inner part and the big wing. I kind of just like gently made like that cat eye shape with the Do Tell on the outer part of the lid and then put that silver glittery area on the inner part of the lid. Did I wear that in a video? I can't remember, but I really liked that use of Do Tell. Here's another way that I used Do Tell over the past month. This was a disco-inspired look that I wore to an ABBA glitter dance party that I attended with some of my close girlfriends. And I just loved this look and I loved this night. It was such a blast. I ended up just putting glitter all over my face and body and all over my friend's face and body. And then I brought with me a little glitter jar and just put glitter on everyone that I met on the dance floor. And sounds like a good time, doesn't it? It really was. It's just always fun to have an excuse to really go over the top with your makeup, try something new, get creative, and I really like how that one turned out. This next look was a great combination of those pinks and blues into one look. So I've got pink in the upper crease, Sunset Boulevard all over the lid, and then Do Tell in the inner corner and lower eyelash line. And then I topped that with like a shimmery blue just to kind of make it pop a little bit more. And I thought this was like a really fun kind of Barbie inspired look. I didn't wear this one to work, but it was fun to play around with these two colors and take some pictures at home on my weekend. And this last look is an example of how I was able to finally hit pan on Do Tell and get that final push on that shade. I wore this look, I think 3 or 4 days in a row to work. It has just like a neutral crease, a neutral lid with like a brown shimmer, and then Do Tell in the inner corner and lower lash. I used a white base. I think it was the NYX Milk Jumbo Pencil to put in my inner corner and lower lash just to make that blue pop a little bit more. It was really pretty and quite subtle and a good way to finally hit pan on that shade. So those are all my eyeshadow looks. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, let me know your favorite in the comments below. I always love hearing what you guys like. And if you have ideas on things I can try with some new shades that are coming in, I'm about to roll them in. I love hearing those suggestions from you as well. Some of my best makeup looks have been inspired by some of you. So thank you in advance for your input, for your ideas. I love trying new and creative ways to wear eyeshadow, and many, many minds are better than one. My favorite time of the video is here. I get to roll in 2 new eyeshadow shades into this project and I cannot wait to see what colors come in. I have 2 different ways of rolling in my shades this year. For half of the shades, I am randomly generating the shades from my Tiny Decisions app, and then the other half I am using Lainey's prompts to kind of have a little bit more control and power over the shades that I'm selecting that fit into those prompts. Do Tell was a randomly generated shade, so we're going to bring in a random one to replace that one, and then the one Blackest Black from my Dream palette was one that I selected with Lainey's prompts, so we're going to do one from Lainey's prompts as well. Starting with the random shade, here is a wheel with all of my eyeshadow palettes included. I have a few palettes blacked out. They're currently either in my Project Level Up or in this project in some way, but I did make the 2 palettes that I rolled out eligible again. That is always a possibility. Hopefully not jinxing myself, knock on wood, that I get something new and fresh into this project. So let's see what palette comes in first, and then we'll randomly generate that shade from there. Okay. Oh, fun. The AVH Norvina palette. I need to work on that palette, so I'm excited to reach for that one. Let me grab for it right now. Here's my Norvina palette, one of my lesser loved AVH palettes, and it's not because I don't like it. It's just never really gotten its time to shine in any of my eyeshadow panning projects. This was in my Project Level Up last year, but it was just level 1. So I have just one pan on this palette in this little shimmery shade up here called Dreamer. obviously a pretty easy shade for me to hit pan on. I like taking the easy road sometimes. So that means of the 14 shades in here, 13 are eligible to be rolled in, and I'm excited to see what I get to work on. So let's put in 1 through 13. Hopefully it's not a pink. I just realized that there's a lot of pinks in there. If it is a pink, I might just do myself a favor and re-roll. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. 1 through 13 is in the possible numbers, and let's see what decides to come into the project. Please no pink, please. Number 9. I just love doing that. I'm sorry, I'm such a dork. All right, so I think we're good. Let's count from here over. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Incense. All right, like a warm brown. Boring, but I'm okay with boring. I need something easy right now. I need something that is, you know, every day. And I think this brown will not compete with the other browns in my Pan That palette. It's kind of a mid-tone brown, where in that other palette, they get pretty dark pretty quickly. So this will actually be perfect. Here is Incense. Wow, that's like the perfect transition shade for me. It's not too warm, not too cool, kind of neutral. It's like a warmish neutral, and I'm excited to reach for that. I know that that shade will be easy and fun for me to pan. It's not going to be a challenge, and the painting gods knew that I needed a little bit of a break this month, and I so appreciate that. So Incense is our first shade that is going to come into this project, and I am just thrilled that I get something a little bit easy peasy. I could see this brown pairing really nicely with some of these pinks as well, so that also is a bonus. And here's the wheel with all of Lainey's prompts. There are a few blacked out wedges because I don't want any repeats from these prompts in this project. So we'll see what new fresh prompt is coming in, and I'm going to try and incorporate a palette that doesn't have a pan in it if I can. Any shimmer shadow. Well, how lovely is that? Any shimmer shadow. That means I get so many options to choose from. I'm going to go reach for some of those palettes that have yet to have a pan on them. Maybe it'll be a palette we've just said goodbye to, and see what I decide to bring into this project. So what'll pair well with these other shades that I'm working on. I'll be right back. I've made my decision, and I was going between 2 different decisions for a while, but I decided to kind of mix things up a little bit and bring in something new. I was very tempted to bring the Natasha Denona My Dream palette back into the project and choose from one of these gorgeous shimmers in this palette to hit pan on. I do want to have a pan on here by the end of the year, but I also just want to try and bring some more variety. So I decided to kind of change directions and reach for my plan to pan list for 2024 and see what other goals are on that I could try and work towards. That brought me to one of my Super Shock shadows from ColourPop. This is the shade Birthday Boy, and I would like to have pan on all of my Super Shock shadows by the end of the year. It's another one of my goals. So I decided to reach for this shade. It's kind of like a taupey glitter shade, and these eyeshadows are definitely starting to lose some of their luster. I can tell they're drying out, getting towards the end of their life and when I'm able to enjoy them. So I wanted to bring in one of these and just kind of get some use on it while they're still decent, or just see if they really even are still decent and do still perform. Here's a swatch of Birthday Boy on the hand with the rest of my color story. I think it goes really nicely with these other shades. It swatches okay. I had to build this up quite a few times. I'm nervous to see how this will perform on my eyelids, but this is an experiment that I'm going to be performing with all of you, and you're just along for the ride here. My thoughts were that even if this doesn't work super well at this stage of its life, it'll still be an okay eyeshadow topper. I think this shade will pair nicely with shades that are in my Pan That palette, as well as like any neutral eye look that I create. So I'm excited to play with this one. I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, and it'll also be a little bit of a break for me to have just a single in this project instead of like an entire palette sitting around. Just a few less options for me to have to decide through when I'm getting ready in the morning and thinking about my makeup look. So I'm excited to reach for this one. It'll just kind of be a little bit of a break from the more pinky tones that I've been working on for such a long time, and those bright colors like the blues. We need a little bit of like a neutral, relaxing month for the next couple of weeks. A little break for me is going to be really nice. So let me know what you think about my new color palette and my choices that I've been able to make. I'm really excited to work on these shades and update you on them in the next month. So definitely come back for that one. I really hope you enjoyed this video. That's all I have for you today. If you did, don't forget to give it a quick thumbs up before you leave. It would really mean a lot to me. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world that this video finds you, and I sincerely hope that you are doing well. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, bye.